Hello everybody! Today I'm going to do a tag video, which is quite rare on my channel, but I was tagged by Libby Stevenson to do the Shakespeare Tag, and I guess that means she thinks I've read enough Shakespeare to actually have some interesting answers to these questions. This may seem a little out of character for me, but I do actually really enjoy Shakespeare's plays, and it turns out I've read more of them than I thought I had. So let's dive into it. These are all questions about one's history with Shakespeare and favorites and least favorites and such. The first question is, what was your first exposure to Shakespeare? The very earliest Shakespeare I remember reading was some of the quotes and like poetry excerpts from the plays in poetry class when I was in elementary school, but I was like 8 or 9 years old, probably. I had no idea who or what Shakespeare was at the time. I thought I was just reading poetry for school. The first time I ever read one of the plays though was Hamlet in university. I think I was like 16 and it was one of my literature courses, and then the year after that I read Much Ado About Nothing. So I didn't, like, age-wise, I don't think I came to Shakespeare late, but I didn't read any in high school because I skipped most of high school to go straight into university. Question number 2 is, which Shakespeare plays and poems have you read? Poetry-wise, I've read a couple of the really famous sonnets, but I've never read like the complete collection. For plays, there are so many of them, I had to pull up my library thing list because I've read all the Shakespeare plays that I own. So I have read As You Like It, The Comedy of Errors, Coriolanus, Hamlet, Henry IV Parts 1 and 2, Henry V, Henry VI Parts 1, 2, and 3, Julius Caesar, King Lear, Macbeth, Measure for Measure, The Merchant of Venice, The Merry Wives of Windsor, A Midsummer Night's Dream, No Much Ado About Nothing, Othello, Richard II, Richard III, Romeo and Juliet, The Taming of the Shrew, The Tempest, Titus Andronicus, Twelfth Night, and The Winter's Tale. Question number 3 is, which have you seen either on stage or on film? I've never seen any of the plays or adaptations on stage. Unfortunately, that's something I would really love to do. I've seen movie versions of some of the really famous ones. Well, I've actually seen a filmed stage version of Hamlet. I think that was one that had Derek Jacobi in it. I've seen the Hamlet adaptation with Ethan Hawke, which was the first one I ever watched, I think, and that was interesting. I've also seen the version with David Tennant of Hamlet, which is my favorite. Is that also a stage version that's been filmed? I can't remember at the moment. I've seen like the 1960s Romeo and Juliet film that's really famous. And Joss Whedon's version of Much Ado About Nothing, and what's the other one? The one with Emma Thompson. Is it the Kenneth Branagh film with Emma Thompson and Much Ado About Nothing? That's the one where Keanu Reeves is like hideously miscast as Don Pedro or something like that. I had to watch that one in class and was like, why is Keanu Reeves in this one? I've also seen bits and pieces of a Macbeth adaptation, which I found boring. Also bits and pieces of like the gender-flipped Helen Mirren version of The Tempest, which was really interesting, but just slow. I feel like there's something else I'm forgetting. Oh, I've seen one of the more recent versions of Macbeth with Sir Patrick Stewart playing Macbeth, which I really liked. I think it was set in like the 1930s or 40s or something, and it worked really well. But yeah, I don't really keep track of which adaptations I watch. I'm bad like that. Number 4, do you have a favorite edition of the complete works? The only editions of Shakespeare plays I've ever read are the Folger Shakespeare editions, and I prefer the trade paperback size, but most of them are not in this. I need all of the copious notes and stuff to understand things because I read them over a long period of time, and I frequently forget what some of the more old-fashioned language actually means. I have read like a fancy Barnes & Noble edition of Much Ado About Nothing that doesn't have any notes, but the Folger editions are definitely my favorites. Number 5, what is your favorite comedy? Much Ado About Nothing, hands down. Favorite history? Is Julius Caesar a history or a tragedy? Because I really liked that, but otherwise possibly Henry V. And tragedy, Hamlet. Least favorite play, Titus Andronicus. Oh my gosh, I hated reading that. It's gory and terrible, and it's got misogyny and rape and mutilation, and ugh, everybody dies in horrible ways. Question number 9, which play would you want to direct? This is a very Libby question. I have never directed or wanted to direct a production of any kind. I think that if I had to choose something, it would be a play that I genuinely enjoy and that I think I understand well enough to like tell people how to do it. So that would probably be Much Ado About Nothing. Question number 10, which is the last one, is which lesser known play do you think deserves more attention, or which lesser known play are you most excited about? I haven't read some of the least known of Shakespeare's plays, and most of the ones I have read I've only read once, so I can't really say which ones deserve more attention. But a lesser known play that I am actually really excited to get to is Cymbeline. Can't really say why, other than I think that Lorena McKennitt did a song version of one of like the soliloquies or something in it. I've wanted to read it for a while because I like the name of it. It sounds beautiful. Cymbeline. Is that a silly reason for wanting to read a Shakespeare play? You like the title of it? There is a bonus question, but it's not relevant to me. It's what is your favorite play to teach or perform? And I don't teach and I don't perform, so I'm not going to answer that one. But anyway, thank you, Libby, for tagging me. I'm going to tag Andrea from Infinite Text because I can't remember at this time whether she has read or likes Shakespeare plays. Let's find out. Thank you guys so much for watching this kind of random video, and I'll be back to talk to you again soon, and until then, bye.